Everyone, welcome to A Pinch of Salt. I'm so excited to be able to introduce to you a wonderful cooking segment right here at Central Coast News that's going to be available to you every single week. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Pinch of Salt. I can't wait to share with you some amazing ingredients with some fantastic food lovers. No other than the #1 food lover, the native food lover. Jake is right here with me today. He's my first guest and I can't wait to learn more about bush food.
Can't wait to see how we go and mix all of this stuff together. It's pretty exciting.
Mate, I can't believe all these little ingredients that you got me. You've got me some like berries, we've got some, fresh Warrigal greens over here. Look at this, this is cracker. So you have actually gone and picked this morning.
Yeah, so sustainably foraged this native spinach here, also known as Tetragonia tetragonoides, or Warrigal greens. I'm not sure why they called it Warrigal greens. Warrigal is one of the names for the native dog in the Sydney area.
Yeah, right.
But very, very common in New Zealand as well, where they call it New Zealand spinach or kohihi. And elders actually eat some of this about once a year to help them with their inflammation and their arthritis. So it's quite a medicinal plant, as well as what's becoming quite a popular edible in the restaurants nowadays.
Yeah, fantastic. So these are like, if you're going out and you're looking at these on your bushwalks and things like that, how do I treat these to make sure that they do not aren't poisonous?
Yeah, so they're not as poisonous as such, but if you eat a lot of them, they do contain a thing called oxalate crystals, which can build up in your system and cause trouble over time.
Right.
So you should always boil them first. And on that note, with people picking them, please, people at home, don't go just trying anything you find out in the bush. Even if you've read it in a book, you never know. It could be actually toxic. You could have a poisonous lookalike, or it could have been sprayed with poison before you got there. We brought in some of the introduced species here today, which are delicious and very nutritious, but could also have been sprayed with poison before you got there. So I made sure that where I got these from today, they're on a private property where I had permission to go, and I know that they don't spray them.
So ladies and gentlemen, really make sure you take that on board. Do not go out to the bush thinking you know what's going on unless you talk to one of the experts first, because it's one of those things that could be a secret thing that you don't know about. It could be sprayed with poison, they could be trying to use weed killer or anything like that, and it could hit it, or you don't exactly know. So please make sure, ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to find out more, you do some tours, right? And you do some walkabouts.
Yeah, jump on a course. There's some really good teachers out there on the bushcraft scene, and people that are really, really knowledgeable, and that's who you really want to speak to. Of course, we can't forget the traditional custodians of land, the Aboriginal people.
Yep.
I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of Aboriginal communities over the years, and you don't have any better survival experts or plant experts than the original custodians.
Well, I am so excited to start cooking up a wonderful storm here. I felt, I didn't know what you were going to bring me, right? So I was like, I can't wait to see what you're going to bring me and really discover all these different flavors and all these different concepts. So I thought whatever you brought me would go really, really cracker with a beautiful piece of barra, right?
Sounds good.
Humpty Doo Barramundi, really wonderful farm in the Northern Territory, right? It's beautiful, it's clean. All we're going to do is we're going to bake this whole. And then we're going to introduce all the flavors that you've brought me on top of it after it's baked.
We've got a few flavours out there. So
no, this is going to be so much fun. I can't wait. So what we're going to do first of all with the barramundi, just to make sure it kind of cooks nicely and make sure, more importantly, that when we put the flavour on, it really sucks into that meat. I just like to kind of slit it on one side, salt it, and then just a touch of olive oil. The olive oil is going to help that skin fry, the salt's going to help flavour it, but more importantly, what we want to do is we want to flip it around. We'll do it again, all right? A lot of people go, nah, we'll do one side. No, do both sides. So again, give it a slit, just like that. Some salt, a little bit of that olive oil again. Nice and simple. I heard you're a little bit of a budding cook yourself.
Oh, I try to keep that quiet.
Yeah.
I don't mind other people cooking for me. I think I prefer that. I'm usually out doing the hunting and the foraging and the gathering, but I don't mind getting in there with the camp oven and cooking up a...
Jake, I'm going to tell you a secret. If you could forage anything, I will cook for you any day of the week.
Oh, that sounds good to me.
I think it's going to be a great relationship. So we're going to pop this in the oven, right? All we're going to do is we're going to crank it up to 220 degrees. By cranking it up to 220 degrees, we're really going to create some frying, we're really going to create some flavour. That sweetness of the barramundi is actually going to stretch right out. And I think that's what's going to go really, really special with what we're about to create here. How does that sound?
Sounds great to know.
Right, so first things first, this little bad boy here. you told me it had a little bit of a licorice-y kind of flavour. What's it called?
It's a native sarsaparilla or Smilax glycophylla, and really common native plant you get in many parts of Australia. And it's actually got a little bit of history attached to this one. So the first settlers, largely being of English descent, were looking for a tea substitute.
Yeah, right.
It's such a big part of the culture. And this was actually one of our first items of trade that we sent, not only back to England, but to China and other countries. And they called it sweet tea back in the day. It is very sweet, has a very sweet initial taste, followed by a little bit of a kick, put it that way.
Yeah, cool. And it's just like, what I did was throw it in some water. But if you're going to do this at home, I think what you really need to do is kind of like break it up and really kind of mash it as much as you can. And what happens is, usually any herb, doesn't matter if it's basil, parsley, thyme, rosemary, if you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to release the oils, therefore you'll get more of that flavour that you're talking about.
Strong sarsaparilla flavour.
Yeah.
You might not want to go too hard with that. You give it a little bit of a crush and there's going to be plenty of flavour comes out of those leaves.
Fantastic.
Guaranteed.
Well, I've got a little bit of a tea licorice happening over here. So if you all want to have a look, you can actually see that there's about 5 or 6 leaves and around about 300 mils of water. And it's really, really cool because we're going to just get, that's going to be our base flavour, right? That gorgeous base flavour. So you brought me some really funky stuff, right? The first thing I really, really want to know about is I got the clean version, but you brought me the real version too.
Yeah, so a bit of wild ginger here. Hedicium gardnerianum.
Look at this, this is cracker.
And this is arguably one of Australia's most hated weeds and an invasive plant that takes over many parts of the world as well. But during a depression in Australia some time ago, they actually used this as a food. They would cook these with bush turkey eggs apparently, and don't go trying that at home.
Yeah, right.
They're a protected native bird, as are their eggs. But a bit of a milder flavour than your standard ginger, but a really earthy flavour and a flavour that I really, really like. I've grown accustomed to over the years.
And can you use all of it, or is it just the bulby bit?
It's just the bulb section
Yep.
that we're going for. Quite nutritious, so quite high in vitamin C and has quite a few minerals in it as well. And where it's native to in parts of Asia, it's actually revered as a famous medicinal plant, apparently helping with longevity.
Wow, there you go. That's a wild ginger. And we're going to use this one because I've cleaned it already.
I'll chuck this one to the side.
Yeah, throw it over to the side. Now, what we're going to do first of all is we're going to heat up this frying pan. I think we're going to start getting this kind of sauce happening. We're going to get this pan kind of nice and smoky and hot. We've got some water, so if you want to just pick these leaves for me, Jake,
Sure.
and we're going to throw it into that water.
Straight into that water.
And I feel like, this whole kind of thing can kind of come together looking a bit more rustic and raw, not so fancy and refined, right? I just feel like
I can do that.
it's that kind of sexiness. So we're going to crack open this ginger. Now, if everyone wants to have a look at this, you can see how nice and clean and how beautiful that looks. Like, that's that smell, that earthy smell you were talking. It actually feels like it should be a skin product
Really,
from
really
like
good
a
stuff
sop
for
or
that one.
something, like you just start
I'll
using
better
it as a
something.
facial. So I'm just going to peel back this skin just a little bit. And then what we're going to do is just going to slice it up nice and thin, like so. And then we're going to cut it up even more to get more blossomy flavors out of it. There we go. So, ginger's ready, pan's getting hot, Warrigal greens are happening over here. Awesome. I think that's enough. What do you reckon, Jake?
Yeah, it's plenty.
Yeah. So we got them. Now, these things. I don't know if anyone's seen them in the shot yet, but these are little kind of gorgeous kind of berries. Right? Are they kind of like just a blackberry?
So
or?
these are an introduced species. These are the blackberry or Rubus fruticosa, and incredibly nutritious. Vitamin A for our vision, eyes in general, skin, bones, teeth, general health, and one of the important antioxidants. Vitamin B1, 2, 3, 6, and 9, and about as much vitamin C as oranges. So a powerhouse of nutrition.
Superfood.
Pretty much a superfood and very, very tasty to boot.
Now you've got a couple of different mixed stuff here. We've got what essentially kind of looks like, a whole bunch of different berries, one that kind of looks like a mini kiwi fruit and things like that. Do you want to explain to everyone what's in this?
So we've got Ballardiera scandens here in the middle, or appleberry, Australia's answer to a kiwi fruit, our little tasty one. Tastes a bit like apple strudel. maybe I'm stretching it a bit then. If I say that things taste delicious, it could be because I was out living off the land for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Everything tasted divine, but I quite like the taste of those ones. Here we've got a little G-bun from the Persunia genus. And that's the little mini mango-like fruit that we'd be using there.
Can I just want to,
sure.
do I have to?
So just swirl it around in your mouth. It's mainly seed. Again, like a mini mango.
It blossoms like, you know, when you eat not the fleshy bit, you know, when you're eating like the actual seed bit of the mango?
Yeah.
That's that flavour, right?
That same texture and a little bit of the same flavour, even a bit of a custard apple-like flavour.
Yeah.
Now these are my favourite. The kids around here call them sour warheads, like the lollies, because they're extremely sour. It's Leptomeria acida, or sour currant bush, and you've got to give these a try. They're great for dressings and especially go well with fish.
So they're kind of sour. They just eat like a grape.
They're kind of sour.
Yeah. They almost taste like a generic. The little generic apples.
They're like a very, very sour little apple.
And it's actually, it's sour, but it's a pleasant sour.
It is.
It's not like a slap across the face. So that will go really well, just mixed as like a berry mixture with the ginger.
Oh, for sure. Well,
All right,
mix
so
all this stuff together.
I can't wait. All right, we're going to taste this. So we've got the ginger. We're going to throw it into our pan. You're making me really excited here, Jake. This is flavour that we like, right? So we've got that ginger, and we're going to fry that off. We're going to grab these leaves. We're going to put them in the water. Now, one little kind of secret I love doing is actually getting berries and actually frying it with the oil. I reckon it blossoms out quite nicely as well, and it will actually flavour that oil a little bit. I see there's a little kind of these nice little electric blue ones.
Yeah, so they're not too bad. Dinella caerulea in very, very small amounts. So, having large amounts is not recommended. Same with any bushtucker. If you're out there, you don't want to put something in your body that your body might not be used to.
Yep.
Back to a bit of Aussie history, when the first settlers came out here, they were eating a lot of meat that their bodies weren't used to. A lot of kangaroo, even some of the fish, lizards, reptiles.
Yeah, wow.
They get quite sick. So, in small amounts. Great to burst with bushtuckers, alright. You just don't want to be pumping your body full of it if your body's not used to it.
So we've got those berries in there, we've got that wild ginger in there. We're just going to grab this tea.
Smells good too, doesn't it?
You could already see the colours of the berries actually bleed right through. And I think we just turn it off and let it sit there for a bit. We're just going to put a little bit of salt. Now, your tours don't just extend to food and things like that. There's a couple of things that you've shown off here as well, like this little thing here. This is not so much food, this is a little secret with this, right?
Yeah, so we certainly touch on survival, the fire making, building shelters. If it's a day course, it usually focuses on edible, medicinal and other useful plants. But this little Exocarpus capriciformis, a pretty impressive name here.
Exocarpus capriciformis. Yeah,
That's
sweet,
right.
that's a fantastic name.
Is a very good insect repellent, which is handy to know in this
I'm just going to
country.
call it Radiant. Or Mortine. We'll call it Mortine, right?
So if you burn it just with your lighter and get the smoke wafting around, then it'll keep the mosquitoes at bay. It's really, really handy.
Lighter?
I was up in the bush looking for a missing dog a few years back, and I was getting carried away by the mosquitoes.
So you kind of ash it.
Really hurts. You dry it out a little bit. It's a really nice incense as well.
It's actually quite like you know that fresh bush smell. You know when you wake up in the morning and you're out in the bush or you're out camping, and that kind of morning dew and that really kind of nice summer smell. That's what that is. Like that is actually a very, very gorgeous smell and really good to keep the mozzies away, right?
That's fantastic. Not too bad with the flies, but better in particular with the mozzies. They smell it and they boot off.
Yeah, right. It's a good idea. Now this is what I found very interesting. You told me one thing that I found very, very fascinating. You said that bush hygiene is very, very important.
It's easy to let it slip, so staying on top of it's really important.
How does this work out?
So this has got a thing called a saponin in it, and it's called Sydney Golden Wattle, or the kids around here do a lot of work in the schools, call it bush soap. So all you do is scrunch it up a little bit.
So we're just going to get a bowl so everyone can see what we're going to do.
Of course, we've already washed our hands, but just to give an example of how all this works, just mix it in with a bit of water. And that's saponin, when it interacts with water, soaks up. Really quite
You can actually
well.
hear it. It sounds like actual soap.
So add in a little bit more water.
Oh my God, that's cracker.
And it does wash your skin really well. Traditionally around the world, indigenous people would use saponin-rich plants to wash away the human scent before they'd go out hunting.
Yeah, wow. So this is kind of like a body wash.
Yeah, we'll just
So we have
bush
Mortine and we have Lynx.
There's everything you need out there in the bush. It's surprising. Medicinally as well, there's a lot of incredible medicinal plants out there.
That's fantastic.
There you go.
That's actually like full-blown soap.
Thank you.
There you go. So guys, one of the things I love learning about everything to do with the bush and everything to do with our land is that there is a whole bunch of different things that you could really discover that could help you live day to day. And Jake is one of those people that really go out there every day to educate and teach you how amazing the Australian rural area is, and especially the Central Coast and what we actually have literally growing in our backyard.
Oh, we sure do, from the native plants to the introduced plants. I love focusing on the introduced plants, a lot of what they call weeds, because you've got these incredibly nutritious plants. And if we go and take them out of an area, we're actually doing the native plants and animals a favour.
Yeah, wow. Well, there you go. So
Creating free and very healthy food for ourselves at the same time.
talk about like big, weird looking weeds. You got one more little gift for me, and I can't wait to discover this one.
Bit wild looking. This is a bit of bulrush from the Typha genus. This is probably Typha orientalis, very common in wetlands. Again, I got this one on private property where I know that there was no pollution running into the creek. And if you can pull this back through here, can I just use your knife for a second?
Yeah.
Do you want to just
No,
trim
go
that
for it.
back? I'm trimming off this section here, and we've got all this tucker in this section here. If you really take your time and just trim that back, all that is really good and has a bit of a chestnutty flavour. And then you get further up into the stem here, split that back. It's got to be the new growth. If you get the older growth that has the brown flower that ends up with all the really fluffy stuff, for no use of a scientific term, coming out the top, then that's no good. But when we get it and open it up like this, the test to see if it's
I think it smells like cucumber.
Yeah, sure it does. It tastes like it too.
Oh, real?
Yes, that's what we're going for.
The
If
snap.
it snaps like that, then it's good to go. We can chop that up and use that as food. And the further up it snaps, the more food you've got in there. If it starts to get a bit stringy on the outside, simply peel back a little bit here. Again, this is very much sustainably foraged from a local private property. And then we've got all of this food in here, which we can just chop up if you want to rip into that.
So just
get rid of the fibrous stuff on the outside.
and the root too.
You can actually chop up the centre of the root. It's got a different flavour to our cucumber-like texture in the centre there and taste.
What kind of flavour would you describe it to be?
Probably closest to cucumber. We
Cucumber.
call it bush cucumber around here.
Yeah.
More this section than that section, but that section's quite cucumbery, if
So what we might
cucumbery is a
do-
word.
We'll chop this one up because it's a little bit more rooty,
Yeah.
and I feel like this could be like our almost essentially our fresh herby flavour into that sweet berry. And then what we'll do with this guy is we might just split it open. Let's get rid of this
Yep.
over here and put it in the rubbish. Now, if we grab this and stick this into here, you want to grab me some of those limes, just fresh limes. What we might do is grab some of this, just the zest off the lime. We're just going to rub this over the top. Now, if we want, we could use like finger limes too, right? So that won't make a difference. But I've just got some beautiful fresh limes. Cut this guy in half, squeeze a little bit in there. And that's it, right? So a touch of olive oil. And this is almost what we're going to just dress over the top. Let's heat this guy up a little bit. Let's go see how our fish is going. I think we're ready, Jake. Are you hungry?
It's all coming together. I am now.
Yeah. Got our plate. Let's check out our fish. Oh, gorgeous. Our beautiful freshly made barramundi. Now, a lot of people say, how do I serve barramundi when it comes out of the oven? Look, my advice, if you put some greaseproof paper on the bottom of it, my advice is literally take off the greaseproof paper and just serve it with the greaseproof. Just leave it on the plate. You don't have to take it off, right? Just leave it there. It's simple, it's nice and easy. Now we're gonna grab our wonderful mix here. Smell?
Very good.
Now we've got that sauce as well. So it's almost like it's a self-saucing. All those berries will come into that licoricey flavor. And then we're just gonna pour that.
Very fruity fragrance.
Just over the top. Grab our spoon again, give this a quick toss. Now we've got our cooked and our sauciness and our fish. Then we're just gonna add that little bit of freshness just over the top. What do you reckon, Jake?
That looks amazing.
Happy with that?
That's spot on.
Now, this is a very, very simple dish to make it. You can make this really, really nicely at home. It's not that hard. It's just basically, going out, getting your fresh barramundi, maybe going into one of your tours. So you got these tours so if I wanted to come out and I wanted to pick all this kind of stuff to make sure that I don't do a mistake, can we book a tour with you?
Yeah, you can jump on a tour or a course. So I do private courses and I've taken chefs out on a few occasions. It's been great.
And what's the website? Facebook?
Yeah, if they just jump on Facebook, Jake Cassar Bushcraft or jakecassarbushcraft.com, Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn.
Now, I've been around the coast and I kind of see little posters and it's kind of like a bear print. Is that you?
Yeah, it's kind of like a bear print. It was meant to be a feral cat and then I saw the bottom of it and it looked a bit like a map of Australia. So I was like, yep, that's going to be my logo.
Fantastic. Guys, we're going to sit down and have this and we're going to enjoy this together. If you want to find out more, please go to Facebook, Instagram. We are going to be delivering you some of these amazing stories from all over the Central Coast on a weekly basis. But thank you very, very much for coming, Jake. I can't believe how much I've learned. I can't wait to learn heaps more. And I can't wait to have you back.
Oh, thanks for having me. I can't wait to be back.
Absolute pleasure. Until next time, guys, we'll see you soon. Ciao.